Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. So a lot of times I come to you during the week and talk to you about things that are going on. I actually usually have an agenda of different things that we've experienced that maybe people have questions about that they don't know that we know the answers to, or they just don't know who to ask. And so typically I have a schedule of things that we talk about. And this month we're all going to talk about what a title company does. What is a title company? Why do you need one? What happens? How does it all work? But periodically I come to you with things that people have asked me, or things I see, or experiences people are having. And so this is one of those things that happens so frequently, and it really bothers me that people don't understand what needs to be done to make sure that things are in order. So welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. Happy week after Thanksgiving. Hope you had an awesome time with your family, enjoyed some relaxation. Hopefully you didn't eat too much. That always kind of cracks me up. Like it's an excuse to eat, like overeat that day. But anyway, hopefully you did enjoy everything you had. Hopefully you had a great time. And today I wanted to talk about something that is a little bit heavy, but it's happened again in a situation that I know about, and so obviously it warrants a conversation. And so I want to talk about it again because sometimes I feel like maybe the people that need to get the message haven't heard the message. So let's talk about this. Say that someone that you know owns a piece of property, or you own a piece of property, and you haven't made the proper arrangements for that piece of property if something happens to you. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we all try to do estate planning, we all try to think ahead, but unfortunately a lot of times we don't account for the so totally unsuspecting, sudden actions that happen that we are not prepared for. And so our property is the most expensive thing and the most valuable asset that you have in your arsenal of things that you own. It is the thing you've worked the hardest for. It's the thing that you feel the place you feel the safest. It's the place that your family gathers. It's the place that you enjoy decorating or doing things in the yard. Maybe you don't enjoy yard work, but it's the place that you call home. And my question to you is that home properly protected if something suddenly happens to you? Now, when I say suddenly, I mean, anything could happen to any of us on any given moment. I could walk outside and lightning could strike and hit and kill me. A tree could fall over and kill me. I could drive down the road and someone could smash into me and kill me. Is my property where I want it to be? And maybe I've done a will to address all of these things. But the one thing I really want you to think about, and a will does do a great job of protecting all of your property, but the one thing it doesn't do is protect the people that you might think that are protected. It may not be totally covered. So let's talk about this for just a second, and I don't want to belabor this for a long time. I just really want you thinking and maybe asking some questions, whether it's to me, whether it's to another title company, whether it's to your family estate planning attorney. I just want you to be prepared and ask some questions. So let's think about this. Maybe you own a piece of property by yourself. You used to own it with a spouse. Your spouse passed away 5 years ago, and now you own it all by yourself. You have a will, and you have a situation where you have procedures in place that if something happens to you, that your property is given to certain people in your family. With a piece of property, and that's a great way to do it if you have several people, but if you want somebody specific to own that piece of property and you're a little bit older, you may want to add that person to the ownership of the property. If you add that person to the ownership of the property and they're a direct relative, you're only going to pay for the cost to record that deed, and which is $60, and the cost to prepare it, which is varies with different people, but under $500, let's say that. That way, that person automatically owns that piece of property. And the reason I say this is, say in that scenario, it's me, I'm up in age, my husband passed away 5 years ago, and I want to make sure that my son, my only son, gets my piece of property and doesn't have to go through the court system estate process. And that's what's going to happen with the will. There's nothing wrong with it. It just takes time, and it's a process that if it's a clear-cut situation, then you can take care of it before that happens. You can add that person to the deed. Now, adding that person to the deed, there is ways to make sure that they can't do anything with your property while you're still alive. There's a lot of different options that I don't want to belabor talking about here too long because I don't want to bore anyone. But there's a lot of different options when you add someone to the ownership of your property. So if you only have one person that you know that you want to have that piece of property, or let's say maybe there's two people and you know that they together will be fine owning that piece of property, then add them to the ownership because then they don't have to go through the estate process. Immediately, if something happens to you, it's automatically theirs. Let's talk about a scenario that, it makes sense when you're talking about an elderly person adding their children. But let's talk about a scenario where, and this, I have a friend who specifically has gone through this, when you originally bought the piece of property that you guys live in, or one of your rental properties, let's say you have a couple properties, you originally purchased it by yourself, and then let's say in the rental property scenario, you bought a townhouse, you lived there for a while, you met that magical someone, the two of you decided that townhouse was just too small, but you didn't want to sell it, so you're going to rent it out, and now you guys bought a piece of property by yourselves, or on a bigger piece of property together that you both own, and that's the house you live in, but you still have this rental property over here that's still in just your name. If you're in that scenario that you walk outside and the tree falls and hits you, someone hits you with a car and you pass away and it is not addressed, that surviving spouse or girlfriend, if it may be, or boyfriend now has to deal with the ownership of that other piece of property. And if you're not married, it's a bigger problem. Maybe you didn't even add them to your estate or your will, and then it's a bigger problem for them to deal with. So have you addressed the ownership of the property that you own? Because the ownership of the property you own is the most valuable asset you have outside of the people that are in your life. And so financially, that's the thing you want to make sure is certainly wrapped up. Yeah, you can make sure your life insurance policy is in order and your cars and your stuff, but is the ownership of that property wrapped up the way you want it to be? If not, or if you're not sure, let's talk about it because there is so many options and you want to make sure that's taken care of. You could be out riding your bicycle today and somebody run into you with a car. You could have some kind of physical issue going on that you don't even know is going on in there. So we're all gonna pass at some point. The question is, are you properly taken care of just to make sure that what you want to happen after you pass, if it happens suddenly or if it doesn't, is all taken care of. So hopefully I helped you spur on some questions this morning. Good morning, Beth. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And hopefully, I'm helping everybody with some thoughts. If you have thoughts or questions, please reach out and ask those questions. There's no requirement, there's no responsibility, there's no agenda. Just ask the questions because if we can't answer them, I'm certainly sure that there is a professional out there that I can find the answers for you. There's a lot of real estate professionals that we work with, like Beth, that are amazing, and they have answers to questions that I don't always know all the answers to. My job is to help you get through closing and make sure your ownership is protected and always work on that ownership of that property, but also to help guide you in the right directions. And I like to answer questions to try to make sure we're getting to all the things that might be things that you're thinking about. So hopefully I helped you answer a question or maybe made you think about a question today. Reach out to me if you want to talk more. Anybody on our team can help answer those questions for you. And if you have other questions about this and other things, there's lots of good resources on our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. So I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. I always look forward to talking to you a couple of times a week. But if you have questions, reach out and let me know because it may be something somebody else needs to know and we'll pop on and talk about it. So have a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.